Hello, everyone. Welcome to chapter 207 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekly edition, and this may, in fact, be the start of a little bit of a series. But what we're going to do in this next little while, you'll notice I'm standing beside one of my scroll saws, and I really like it, except we're going to make a change. And by the end of this little video series, my saws are all going to look like this. They are all going to have a wonderful stand like this. So, if you want to see how I'm going to do that, all you need to do is stay tuned. Well, as you could see from the introduction, it's time for my two table-mounted scroll saws to find their way onto stands. Now, ordinarily, I would have loved to have been able to watch Facebook Marketplace and pick up a couple of stands cheap. I bet you I could have had them with no work and just bolt the saws on for two stands, somewhere around $100. But I've looked and looked, and there is nothing. First of all, this saw is pretty rare. It seems to be anyway. Mind you, since I've been looking for them, I have seen a few more of them. But yeah, they're not as common. So I really liked this saw when I worked with students. And by the way, if you ever want to see what flaws your equipment has, turn students loose on them. You'll find out pretty quickly what needs to happen. And it was obvious from the first day of class on that what needed to happen here is we needed a stand. And with scroll sawing, like for example, with a lathe, the height of the lathe to the center line, I usually use the elbow trick for that. And that varies from person to person. But the scroll saw is not that way, in my opinion. My opinion, what matters is the chair height to the table. That's what matters. But with my students in here, we had obviously this saw that I bought this way many years ago, and then my two latest additions here that came without stands. And sitting on the table here, well, first of all, the table's higher, so this saw is probably a foot higher than this table. And the chair hasn't changed though. But when some of my students stand who are like 4 foot nothing, they're reaching up like this to work. And yeah, I did bring my wood turning lathe riser kit for kids that I have. I have a box for them to stand on, and yeah, we did get that out, and that helped. But the with the vibration of the saw on this table here, I don't know if you can see it in camera here, but on my table saw area there, it's a little smoother surface, and that saw would always want to go all over the place. So then I had to clamp that all down. And what that leads to is interruptions in the teaching flow, which is a problem, especially if you're doing this with more kids. I mean, I just had four in that group, but still, I like to be able to point to a saw, say, there you go, turn it on, it's ready to go. So often in advance, I've adjusted the upper hole down here. I've adjusted that correctly before we started. And yeah, I can just do that. Now, the other thing I didn't like about having these scroll saws having to be on tables is it took away my flexibility to place them in the shop. So let's say that I'm having a turning class on a weekend and I have a Wednesday class with the scroll saws. Well, I've got my lathe set up, but where am I going to put the scroll saws? Well, if I had stands for them, I can drag them anywhere in the shop. I can plop them in anywhere. But if I have to work here or here, then we're stuck. So I need to have these saws on stands. And like I said, if I could have found something on Kijiji that would have met my needs, I would have done it. And notice that I'm going to build a stand like this. I don't want a big, bulky box on wheels that I've got to roll around and then figure out how to lock the casters. And yeah, I can store everything in it that I would need for the scroll saw. Well, technically, you don't need that much for the scroll saw because on these deltas, they've got a little container like this that I can put all the blades I would ever need to have in here. So what else do I need? Once I get my blade hold downs properly done, or uh, blade holders, sorry. Once I get those properly done, I don't need any wrenches and all that stuff. So this is all I need. Now, what I am planning on doing, and I don't think you can see that in this frame, there's a triangular brace about 10 inches up from the floor where the legs are connected. And I'm thinking what I may do is pick up some welded wire fabric, like some corrugated mesh kind of thing, and put a little tray down there so that kids can maybe store their projects on that shelf, say in the large Ziploc bags that we use until they're done. And then, they'd have a place to store them without having to go into my cupboard at the back of the shop there. So I think that's what's going to happen this week. I'm not sure how this is going to work out. This is unusual for me. I'm starting this video on a Sunday afternoon. And so I have basically till about maybe Thursday to get this out. But I plan to do some work in the house as well. My casing and baseboard, I'm filling all the nail holes, and I'm going to lightly sand that, and I'm going to give everything a coat of paint. And I'm hoping to get most of that done this week because it's important for me personally that I start knocking off some of these projects. They're really, really starting to get me down. And then the next thing will be, and you might not be able to see this either, but my towel cabinet for the bathroom. That's going to happen in January yet too. So, and I think maybe I'm done working outside for now because the weather is quite cold. It's lightly snowing, or at least it was when I started shooting today. So, yeah, I don't know. It's been odd weather. And like I say, I like running my snowblower, but I just don't have time to do it every day. So, yeah, it's been a little bit of a pain. But so anyway, getting back to the stands, I am going to copy exactly this stand. Now, I went around looking for materials for it, and this measures about 80 thousandths thick, and I'm not even sure what gauge that is. But all I could find, and I think I got a pretty good deal on it. Sorry about the reach, but this is 63 thousandths, so about a 16th of an inch. So it's a little thinner. It's about 20 thousandths thinner than that, but it's 2 inch by 2 inch. It'll be nice, and I think it's nice and sturdy because the weight of this saw, first of all, isn't much, and the force is all down here. So I'm thinking this is going to be plenty big enough. And the other nice thing that happened is I went on uh, Amazon and found these foot covers just like the original has. And they actually fit. So I'm amazed. Like usually when I order something that where I have no idea what I'm doing on Amazon, I have to order it 4 times before I get something I can use. So this was first crack. So now I got a whole bag full of them. And I've got enough steel to build 2 stands that are pretty much going to mimic this one. Now, there's some pieces of steel on here that are, I'm just going to use this leg as an example. They're 2 inch by 1 inch. And I'm not sure if I'm going to trim that off yet or not and make it look exactly the same. I may just leave it because it would be a little heavier and that would be fine. It's not overly done, but I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. But it's easy when you have the original right here. You can just go and copy. Now, the other thing, and I don't know if you can see it, in fact, you probably can't, but this stand bolts together. So these black round heads here, they're bolts, and they're about an inch long. Now, I might have to come up with a creative way because on these carriage style heads, there's the carriage head and then there's always a square section underneath it. So I may have to come up with a way to square my round holes on the one piece, but I'll figure that out. I don't think it'll be too hard. I've already got some ideas. So and then so once I get all the pieces cut, um, that might be the first video. I'm not sure, depending how much I show you. Getting all the pieces cut, and then the next thing would be drilling the holes and assembling. And then the last video would probably be taking it all apart, painting it. And yes, I have paint that kind of matches this, painting them, and then reassembling and putting this on. So we might be looking at possibly 3 videos here. Who knows? Maybe I'll start shooting and it works out to 1. I don't know. So the video production, excuse me, I'm still learning. Let's put it that way. So anyway, let's get on with it. We're going to start cutting some metal. Well, cutting the pieces was fairly simple. All I did was for some of the other pieces, I just took a piece off the stand that was already built and made a copy of it, just kind of laid it over and took a marker and traced around it, and that was about it. So there wasn't really a lot of fancy layout to deal with. The other thing that I did is, you'll notice I'm cutting this with a cutting disc in my angle grinder. Now I have other ways of cutting metal. I do have a larger cut-off saw, but with the angles and everything, I thought this was just as easy. The one thing I would really like to have is a cordless model of this, because the cord is at times in the way and the cordless model is just so much handier. Who knows, maybe that's a future tool purchase. But yeah, it looks pretty straightforward. The 16-inch thick steel is really nice to work with. It cuts well. And in the end, I'm probably going to end up tack welding some of this stuff together. So that is also, I think, going to weld really well. I've spent a lot of time in my career welding 16 gauge and it welds really well. So we're getting to the end of this clip here. Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. Just cut on the lines and away we went. Okay, well, we're going to make this into this. All right. Now, I took the luxury of finishing one before starting this one, and I kind of got things figured out here. It's important that you drop it straight into the vise, and it takes a couple of cranks before you know for sure whether you've got it. And like I said, I've done this before, so it's close. Now I just need to remember how many cranks. Okay, a little bit more than that. But I'm definitely in the ballpark here. Once I have the first end done, that's actually a little under already. Let's see how that is. That would do. Okay, as I was saying, once I have the first section the right angle, then I just simply advance it in the vise, and then I just press it until it looks about the same. Okay, that didn't happen last time. But it came out at the right time. Okay, so isn't that how it works? as soon as you turn the camera on to film something, things don't go the way they should. Okay, well, I'm just going to hold this in there. I think that's good. Probably not the best for my vices, but they're tools, they get used. And I think I'm a little bit, yeah, the end isn't enough. There, it isn't quite enough yet either. But you just kind of eye it straight. If a person had a roll or something to do this, this would be more accurate, but this is going to be good for me. Looks as though it's a little, it's amazing. The first one I did didn't take me near this long. Like I said, you turn the camera on to film. I think that's probably going to be all right. Now this end isn't quite small enough yet. Okay. That's much better. But it's right here yet. I've got a little bit of a bulge. I guess maybe it was easier doing the first one because whatever happened I was happy with. Whereas now the second one I'm working to a pattern. Nope. Okay, we're going to flip this around. Which is probably what I should have done right away. Ah, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Then that'll finish off the legs. And the next thing we'll start on is probably the lower brace, the longest bracing, or the pieces that hold the three legs together. I bought, how many pieces? 3 pieces of this angle, and it was 10 feet long, I believe. I bought this stuff a year ago, almost a year ago. So, and I'm running a little bit short on some of the top pieces. So I might need to get out the welder one day and put a couple of pieces together to make that. But anyway, and by the way, the steel for this cost me right around $100. So I'm basically getting my 2 stands at $50 each, plus paint, plus bolts, plus feet. You get the picture. Anyway, we'll bring you back when we're starting to measure up the bracing. Well, over the course of the evening yesterday, I got thinking about the legs I had made, and all of a sudden, and I don't know why I didn't see this sooner, it made no sense to me that the back leg was a tighter angle and the front ones weren't, because the piece connecting them runs at an angle. So I checked them with my with this guy this morning or this afternoon, and yeah, they're tighter as well. So what I did, and I didn't think I'd bother showing that to you because I did the 2 back ones yesterday and we got that on film. So what I did is I put them in the vise and I just crushed them a little bit. They're not 100% perfect, but they're not bad. So one of the things I didn't have to worry about too much with those, I will keep the back legs separate, but the legs, like I can flip and change them. I don't really think there's a left and a right. So I don't have to worry about that. But with these things, I guess there isn't really either. I thought there was, but I'm looking at this now and it would just go in the other way, but the piece is symmetrical. Like, it's really, really handy, and I can straighten this. It's really, really handy to have that scroll saw stand here to be able to take a part off and basically copy it. Now, I spent more time on this piece. This piece here is its replacement than I normally would have, because I want to change the design of this piece just a little bit. Right now, I kind of copied, I don't know if you can see that, those ends are kind of the same, okay? This angle here, or this piece here, I'm going to let that run long like this, and when I assemble these, right now the plan is, when I get these together, that I'm gonna have, here if I can show you this quickly, kind of 2 pieces coming together like this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line there. I'm going to cut them so they join, so it's a butt joint. And I'm thinking maybe of taking the welder and welding them together, because this would weld quite nicely. It's thick enough. So that way, I just want a little bit more rigidity in the bottom. When I took some of these pieces out, and now I've been working with that stand, you know, it's basically the last day or so, it's pretty flimsy, and I'd like it just a little tougher, especially on the bottom, because you put your feet on there, and I just don't, I was thinking how I was going to cut this down, this 2x2 down to essentially 1x2, and I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave this there. So it changes things a little bit and will make it a little bit more complicated in the end. I'll have to do some extra work, but that's okay. I only have 2 stands to build. So anyways, I took this piece off, got a chance to try out my hardware. I ordered a box of these. I don't know why I couldn't find these in Saskatoon. Yeah, they're, oh, I don't even know what they are. 1/2 inch, 5/16, 18, 3/4 inch with, so they're a carriage bolt head. And I have 100 of them, so that should be lots. I had to order a box. But anyway, and I think the other side will just get a lock washer and a nut, that's all. So the square, this part here, I don't know if you can see it properly, but there's a square part there, and I drilled a hole. I thought of maybe taking a file and taking the corners out, but that strikes me as a lot of work. I'm just going to drill the holes big enough to handle this, and away we go. Tighten them up good. I think it'll be fine. So anyway, that's, I have one made, and I'm going to label this one lower right. And I laid out another one here that I have labeled as lower rail 2, but I am going to keep my lefts and rights separate. So put the right over there, put the left over here, and then we're going to put it in here, and we'll give you a little bit more cutting here. When I cut off camera, I use this thing because it protects my face better. But now I need to rely on my glasses, which are safety glasses, by the way. But my mic won't work on that thing. So anyway, here we go. Okay, and we'll spin it around. Do the other end. There we go. Okay, so then and we're over to the drill press. Okay, and we're at the drill press. I need these blocks here to hold this like that so I can work. The other one I had a bend in it, so I needed more of them. And it would be better if this was in one piece, but I don't have that right now. So we're just going to use what I have. And we're going to line up that hole. That looks pretty good right there. Yeah, that looks really good. There we go, that should do it. Yep, that's good. Okay, now we'll flip it around and we'll do the other side. Oops, I should line that up first is what I should do. There we go, that looks really good. There we go. And that's the left side. Now, like I said, on the front, there's a short piece on the front, but I think I'm just going to overlap that. Okay, I don't think that I need to cut any angles. I'll just overlap that. Not even sure if I'll weld that. We'll see how it looks when I'm done. But the back, I think, is going to get welded. So anyway, we'll move on to whatever's next. Well, progress continues. I've got the patterns for the top built, and yeah, I think I'm okay with it now. You'll notice that the legs have a triangular piece in here with holes in, and that's where the scroll saw actually mounts. Now, what I was hoping to do is kind of tack these together and put the holes for the scroll saw into here. That way I don't have to um, do any welding on the legs. Mind you, I'm not sure if that's really such a cost or time saving thing anyway, because I've been thinking of tacking these corners together, welding that together, and making that solid. So, not sure if I'm quite sold on everything yet. But I think the pieces are the right shape and the right size. So I am going to cut them to length. Um, and I don't think I need to show you that anymore because it's just cutting with my angle grinder and getting things roughed out. Try to keep in mind that I'm making, especially now, like there will be a left and a right for this piece, so it's important I keep that in mind. But other than that, things are going along fairly well. And all I'm going to do for the rest of today, probably because I like to finish, I don't like to work on this after 4 o'clock in my shop because I'm usually out here in the evening a little bit, or at least I come and lock up and check on things in the evening. And I don't know, it really isn't clean enough in here to be doing work that generates sparks. So I tend to be quite careful. So anyway, yeah, I think this should work. It's really been handy having this stand to work off of. And I'm hoping that in the next segment that I show you, because the next segment will be assembly. And I need to drill some holes in the legs. I didn't do that yet. I should have done that as I was going along, but I just didn't think of it, or I got preoccupied with other things. But then I'm going to try to bolt everything together and show you that. Whether that's the end of this video or not, I'm not sure, but I think we'll see where I am by the end of tomorrow, and then we'll sit down and start to edit. So anyway, yeah, when I cut another set of these, I've cut all the pieces. Excuse me. They should probably be sanded a bit. I think I'll take a flap disc and go over the ends. And I think another thing that'll happen before I spray finish, I'll wipe this whole thing down with lacquer thinner, get rid of the marker, and then spray it all the closest gray I can get. Okay, so we'll see you when it's assembled. Well, here's one of them. I got it assembled. It's kind of tacked together. Not everything's tightened yet. Um, I think, first of all, what I like, the stands are pretty much the same. You can take a look and tell, which I'm quite happy with. The one problem I ran into with metal is these lower front rails I didn't have quite enough material. I was about an inch short and I had to kind of move them and drill the holes closer to the ends. And I made it work, but it's not quite exactly the same as that one. But I think it's going to be fine. Um, Another problem that I ran into was drilling holes. I didn't uh, take as much time as I should have, and there's a few that I didn't get right. Like this piece here, these holes are a little too low, so this piece doesn't come to the top. Um, the other thing is the bolts that I'm using have a really long square part, and the square part actually goes through both pieces and doesn't allow the nut to tighten. So I need to make sure I get the right washers in there so I get enough so that I can have the two pieces stick together. Now, and that led to another problem. I'm just giving you problems here, but these things this thing it racks a little bit. Like it goes like this front piece here will go side to side. On the original, the hardware's made for this. They're square holes, they're not round holes for the bolts. And also, I don't know if you can see it, but there's three little divots on each side, and I wasn't sure what those were at first, and then I realized on this piece, on all the pieces, there's a matching indent. So when you screw this, when you bolt this together, that locks that joint in and prevents it from racking, like going side to side. I don't have that on this one. So I suspect what I'm going to do, for me, I'm going to take what I would think is the easy way out. I'm going to have to get the welder out to weld this seam, and I'm going to make this top piece into one and weld that together. And the same for this, I'm going to weld that, and that should help some of the rigidity already. And then I'm going to weld the front so that it doesn't rack, and then the whole thing so it doesn't go back and forth. So yeah, I'm going to end up doing a bit more welding than I planned initially, but it could have been done without any welding at all, like this one is. But I just to drill square holes would have taken a lot more time than I have right now, and just drilling a hole, bolting it together as best I can, and then using basically my welder to do what these three holes or these three pins, little pins are doing, will work out just fine. The other thing I wanted to do was put support in here, but I don't want it made out of wood because, well, maybe it'll be fast and simple if I make it out of wood. That might be the way to go. But that way kids can put their finished projects on here, or their projects they're working on. We usually store them in a big Ziploc bag, so they can lay that on here. I'll maybe put little edges on here so we can move the saw without things falling out, and they can put their wood in there as well. So what I learned with my students this year is they picked one saw, and that's the one they used. So that's what we're going to do. So anyway, yeah, it's a little bit of work in progress yet. In the next video, I don't know if, I'm not sure what I'm going to put in the next video yet. I was going to show you bolting it together, but I don't think that pays. I still have the second one to put together to get to this stage, and so I have a feeling when you see it next time, I might have the welding done and getting ready to put finish on. That might be the weekly edition next week. Like I say, I've still got other things that I'm doing, and yeah, it's kind of busy, but I'm also not working pin the whole day. So I take it easy in the morning, but then I usually work till about 9 or 10. So anyway, with that in mind, I hope you're enjoying this. This is, I think, a little bit different than the scroll saw stands I see on Facebook Marketplace and all that. They're all made out of wood and big and bulky, and this isn't. So anyway, hopefully you're enjoying this content. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the weekend edition.